Hi everyone, sorry about that. This is political analysis part 2. Basically, just fixing some technical stuff around my battery, and I was watching the video, and this doesn't show up very good. I don't know if you can see this, but it's a piece of paper that I took, 8.5 by 11, and at the top I made a note of all the different political governance parties, and then I made another section here that talks about, okay, what are some of the issues, questions. And then what I did was I actually created like squares to break down the different governance options. Now this sheet, I don't know if you can see it, it's 8.5 by 11, and it's just inverted like this. So just pushed over like this. And basically what I was saying was that with this one particular governance party that I looked at, now I'm looking at four of them, starting with the Ontario PC. I'll show you. If you go on their website, right, they have everything laid out exactly. Now, the way that you organize yourself and structure yourself is also indicative of the way that you govern. So they have different aspects: job creation, critic portfolio, deputy critic portfolio, and then you have caucus and committee assignments. I'm going to show you what they show on their website. Now, for somebody who's trying to understand, okay, geez, how does this governance thing work, and oh my goodness, they make absolutely no fucking sense, and when you call them, they don't pick up the phone, or they harass you, or threaten you, or send police to your home, or whatever. These kinds of things need to be spoken about, because when these things happen, then what has to happen is a process has to happen to begin to issue pink slips and additional, which is worse. So take a look. This is the Ontario PC. You go onto their website. It says, our team, caucus members, job creation task force, critic portfolio, deputy critic portfolio, caucus and committee assignments. Now look how they lay out stuff on their website. Look at the priorities. Job creation is priority number 1. Then they have these different sections. They have the leader, of course, finance, energy, economic development and innovation, small business and red tape, skilled trades, and apprenticeship reform critic. If you look in the, for example, the critic portfolio, you have like all the different names of persons over here. And then you have, for example, what they address. So this first person here, he or she, I don't know, could be a transgender person. Deputy leader, chair of community outreach, critic for health and long-term care, citizen and immigration and mental health reform. The next person. Intergovernmental affairs. Next person, correctional services. Next person, community and social services. Next person, tourism and culture. Municipal affairs and housing. Skills, trade, and apprenticeship. Sorry, next person. Next person, energy. Next person, agriculture, food, and rural affairs. Next person, environment. Next person, labor. Next person, attorney general. Next person, transportation and infrastructure. Next person, training colleges and universities. Next person, education. Next person, consumer services. Next person, children and youth services, government services, economic development. Next person, economic development and innovation. Next person, northern development and mines. Next person, seniors and retirement security. Next person, accountability. Next person, Aboriginal affairs. Next person, natural resources and women's issues. Next person, finance, francophone affairs, and Toronto affairs. Next person, small business and red tape. Next person, community safety. So they have, for example, it all laid out. So if you're a person who has different types of learning or different types of accessibility requests. Everything is laid out for you. Okay. So for example, in the deputy critic portfolio, they have there's two persons who deal with community outreach vice chairs. One person, accountability, Pan Am Games. Next person, transportation infrastructure. Next person, education, youth outreach. Next person, labor. Next person, agriculture. Next person, energy, Green Energy Act. Next person, health, rural and northern. Next person, finance, auto insurance reform. So they lay it all out for you. Okay, now we're going to go to what is called the Ontario Liberal Party. Look at how they lay out things. Where exactly is their priorities? Where are they? Our cabinet. Now you're a person with accessibility needs. Where exactly is this stuff? How are they all structured, right? So there's nothing here, nothing, but then you have to hone in. Say, okay, what's this, right? Look at this. Then you scroll down, so it says, oh, basically, minister of whatever and location, minister of whatever location, minister of whatever location. But it doesn't show, for example, how things are all connected. Now, one of the things with the Ontario Liberal Party is that they should have figured things out. Right? They have a lot of, if you actually look, you have a lot of people of color. Oh wow, they're diversity, and they support multiculturalism. But then we have something called processing of black cadeavours. And why is it that we see so much of the processing of black cadeavours under this? They look good, but they're pieces of shit. Go to the next party. Okay. Caucasian woman. She says that, hey, I'm someone who is familiar with anti-oppression. But is that anti-oppression decolonized? For example, look at how they lay out everything. Okay. Person, portfolio in relation to this. View bio. Scroll down. Okay, now look at this. Who's actually working on job creation? Right? Look at this. Our team, that's nice. But who's working on job creation? What are you guys doing? Okay. Looks nice. But you know what? Read their constitution. Read how they talk about entrepreneurship. So if you're actually supposed to contribute to economic innovation, but these ones have some problems with entrepreneurship, why would you even vote for something like this? When I say this, I mean this political party. Very similar to this. This one here, where exactly are their priorities? There's no priorities. Where are they? It's empty. Empty. Look at all the diversity people. Wow, looks pretty impressive. Oh my God, there's a black one. I see myself. And then that's where you have to say, I don't fucking think so. Look at this, all this white space. Again, what are the priorities? Our priorities are job creation. Look at this. What did they do? Okay, they have their own portfolios and they handle all these different... Look how it's laid out. Now, in these other, what do you call it, political parties, they don't even say what their priorities are. all take pictures. Why do people even go to work? You have something called the Green Party. Looking at their leadership. Looking at them too, they've got some little diversity faces or whatever. I'm like, okay, but what exactly are your priorities, right? What's the priority here? Job creation task force. Now we're going to see how these websites change. Oops, sorry. Okay, and I wanted to show you another one. It was called, the People's... Here, let me just put this down. I'm just going to... Sorry about this. There was another party. It was called the People's Political Party. I'm just going to bring them up here so that you can see. And the reason why I'm showing you this is so that you have an indication of how to actually work through all this stuff. Because, for example, the way you organize your infrastructure is an indication of how you actually conduct business. Okay, so you have, it's called the Ontario People's Political Party. Here we go. I'm sorry, it's called the People's Political Party of Ontario. I'm just going to bring up their website. People's Political Party of Ontario. And thanks for watching. Here we go. The People's Political Party, it's called. Okay, I'll show you. It was actually started by this person here. And they have their initiatives, what we do believe. And then they also have some statements. Lizards and rats treated better in pet shops than people in Toronto jails. Lizards in pet shops are given heat lamps or heating pads to assist them in maintaining the best body temperatures for their health and well-being. The rats and mice which were used to feed the lizards are given bedding which insulates them from the steel floors of their cages. Not so in many of the police station holding tanks. Example, station on Dover Court. There, people have a steel slab to sit on or lie on. Steel robs heat from your body. One's physical health and well-being suffers if you spend any time sitting or lying on cold steel. In my 60s, I had to stand most of the night waiting for court in the morning. No blankets, no food to assist in maintain body temperature, no sleep, not a fair or good mental condition to be placed in for court. At court, many people from different police holding tanks complained of the same conditions, some still shivering. You can stop wondering why some call the courts a circus, and they are very, very incredibly problematic. And why in some sectors of our society the police are hated, their job is very difficult, don't make it impossible. All people who are and have been party to enabling these conditions without voicing opposition must be prevented, at least in the near future, from managing this inhumane, insane condition. Shame on Toronto. This leaflet, if not acted upon, could well be distributed to the tourist spots this summer. The remedy to this protest is easy. Bedding, blankets, food, and water. July 1st, Canada Day deadline for change. The People's Political Party, Undercover Peace Officer, number 4. So how do we connect this to infrastructure? Job creation task force. There's an issue here. Who do I get in touch with? Oh, there's a person here, correctional services. Wow. Okay. Oh, there's another person here, Attorney General. Excellent. Oh, I think this all has to do with community safety as well. Interesting. Where is the humanity here? Because we don't even know if these people are actually, how many of these people, I should say, are wrongfully accused. People, when you do a political analysis, replace the word political with something called governance. And you know what? Just draw, I was going to say visualize, but you know what? Map out things in a way that makes sense to you. You don't have to write like on a piece of, for example, piece of paper like this, with lines, Maybe you don't learn like that. So you know what? Map things out like this. This is how you learn. Right? I'll show you some of the things on, for example, the Ontario PC. Because, I've done 50-year analysis. Now I'm like, okay, I'm going to do 25 generations analysis. What do we see here? And who's actually addressing the problem? The problem is system change. Who's addressing that? Ontario PC. This is how they have things structured. They have deputy leader, finance, energy, economic development. This is all part of job creation. Say that again. Have a leader. They look at finances. They look at energy. They look at economic development and innovation. But they also look at small business and red tape. Do you know that the Liberal Party of Ontario was contacted? And what was said to them was, can you please forward information about support for poor women who are starting from zero capital and no debt financing mechanisms. Zero for poor women. What the Liberal Party of Canada had emailed back was something to say that, there's no help for poor women. That is third world conditions. First of all, I have some problems with that term, first world, second world, third world, but you know what? There's third world conditions in the first world, whatever that means. Small business and red tape. Why wouldn't you encourage entrepreneurship? Skilled trades and apprenticeship reform critic. You have a problem with trade work. There's no, for example, integration of people of color, black people into contracts. They have this practice in Ontario, for example, where people from certain ethnic communities, they get themselves elected through not fair means. So, for example, then you would look down on another and say, okay, we need to talk about intergovernmental issues. And then raise that with them. Chart this stuff out, and you know what? Take a look at it and say, this is very interesting. Economic development and innovation, that's pretty good. Small business and red tape. Well, they're not giving poor women any support. So you know what? You get in touch with them and let them know. They have this whole other portfolio here. Look at this. Community outreach, accountability, Pan Am Games, transportation, education. They have a whole bunch. So I'm just sharing this with you to say, you know what? Get involved in governance. And you know what? You're also part of governance. Governance has a lot to do with decision making. I've actually, done a lot of different videos about, racial profiling, medicalization, working with different epistemologies related to USA Black feminism. Or I should say I've been working with applying Black feminism epistemologies, from the USA lineage. But there's also stuff related to air, land, water, soil, and human health, which I look at, for example, Black human health. What's going on here? There's something called Minamata disease, and it was an epidemic that actually happened in a community, an Indigenous community in Ontario. And the Indigenous community was, called Grassy Narrows. And in the location of Grassy Narrows and Ontario. And, after I learned about this situation, I was just so disgusted because what had happened was this particular community um, became sick from pollution related to industrial practices. And there was excellent coverage on the CBC digital archives from like the mid 1960s and early 70s. Fantastic journalism. And I learned from that, and I was like, wow, that's just terrible. And, I explored a little bit more of the work of, for example, the late Dr. Masazumi Harada. And I would have loved to have contacted him and talked to him about things related to, for example, medicalization, criminalization of medicalization. What else? Green accountability. I'm just putting these ideas out there, but the thing about Grassy Narrows is true, actually, and everything else that I say. With respect to examples, racialization, criminalization, etc., take a look at how your infrastructure is set up. Infrastructure, just think of like some kind of toy or something, right? You want to look at actually the design behind the toy. So how did they come to think about this and why? And then you have to look at the detailing to the toy. Now, if you have something structured like this, what do you think you'll get? When you actually go into, for example, policy, Ability to Pay Act, Paths to Prosperity, an Agenda for Growth, Reducing the size and cost of government. Let's click on there. Okay. Look at some of these issues. Mandatory public sector wage freeze. Have you actually seen some of the individuals that work in these public infrastructures? Number one, they all look the same, or they're diversity, but they all think the same. So you have issues of diversity, tokenism, and nepotism. So why wouldn't one want to reduce the size and cost of government, liquidate those resources, and allocate them to, for example, people that want to start up their small business? Why not have a small business fund where people can apply and they get their monies, and they're off and doing what they need to do to contribute to economic development? Oh, excuse me. Public sector salary arbitration system. People, have you actually taken a look at this? These people actually spend more time negotiating their salary than actually servicing the public. So then, you know what? Why even have a public infrastructure that does no work? This is a test that you can do. Just pick up the phone. I could give you a number to call, but you know what? You just investigate it yourself. Pick up a number and call just about an issue related to suspension of driver's license medical review. You'd like to get some information about how this process works, and you want them to send the information to you. Call that department. And you know what? You're on the phone all day. Who has time for that? That's just one. Call them about, for example, under the Liberal government. Call them about, they have this thing called OHIP. Call them about that and say, you know what? I want to see my billing for my OHIP from the first time I actually activated my OHIP card. People are supposed to get statements in the mail. How many of you get statements in the mail on this thing called healthcare system? In Canada, it's set up differently in each province, and then you have like sort of the bigger size that sort of overlooks everything. Why is it set up like that in Ontario? So there's all this billing to this thing called an OHIP card. People don't know what is being billed. I did some videos on biomedical stuff, and look at some of those videos. How do people actually audit their medical records? Do people even know what these things say? So you go in to apply for a job, what the fuck is this? So then we visit these individuals and we say, okay, you know what? Look at this disposition. Where did they audit the records? Where? So you know what? We have to start asking for cancellations of license and worse. Got to get punitive with people, but also come up with your own solutions as well. People may say do this or do that. No, you sit down and say, you know what? I'm going to do it my way. And then from that you go to the infrastructure and say, well, based on this, this is the result. Can you change it so that it actually works for everyone? You'll say, oh, okay, collaborate with us. Ontario is a disgusting place. Look at this. Reduce government spending by 10% outside of health and education. Now, there could be some discrepancies with this, because healthcare is very problematic, education is very problematic. So you don't be scared of these people. What you do is you just write them and say, you know what, I think it should be this way for this reason. And then you know what they do? They give you an opportunity to be in the know-how, in the know. People, I'm just giving you an example. And, you know, just take your time and do this stuff, because you know what? The mere fact that, for example, black women, of all the other women out there, are the ones who are dealing with their dead black children, that's not funny. That's not funny. And it's been going on for years. And this apparently, I don't know, liberal infrastructure, attorney general, it's a fucking joke. It's a fucking joke. But you might have a different issue related to maybe agriculture, or, for example, you have in Jamaica, what's really problematic for the community is something called visas. Apparently when you have to leave Jamaica to go to different places, you need a visa. Why do you need a visa? It's very, very problematic. So what we do is we say, okay, we go, okay, we need to write this person here. Where are they? Okay, where are the immigration? Ooh, we need to write this person here. Here we go. This person. Deputy Leader, Chair of Community Outreach, Critic for Health and Long-Term Care, Citizen and Immigration and Mental Health Reform. We have to talk to this person about citizen and immigration. And what we could say is we could put a position to say, you know what, we find this a very problematic practice because we are also part of this diaspora community, and the diaspora community is also part of us. So what is going on here? Who is us? Who is they? Who is us? Like, our diasporas. Just go to governance and say, you know what? We need to start acknowledging our diasporas. And this visa is a huge problem. Racial profiling, racial profiling is a big problem. Like, you have to get creative with stuff, right? And you know what? Share the shit. Share it. You know? Give people a starting point. Thanks for watching these two videos, part 1 and 2, about political analysis, how to do one.